everyone, it's Maria, and today I'm going to be talking to you about doing something that I really enjoy doing, and I'm hoping that you might attempt doing it yourself. What we're talking about today is a book club party. Now, I'm doing this video specifically because Jenny Harmony, one of my viewers, asked if I could do more homeschooling videos. And I've been a little bit reluctant in the past to do that just because I feel like oftentimes when people are Googling YouTube for homeschool videos, they oftentimes will feel like they aren't doing enough, and I don't ever want somebody to feel like that. That said, I do have quite a bit of experience, so in the next few months at least, I'm going to attempt to make it more of a priority to do homeschooling videos on things that I've learned, things that I've figured out how to make easier, those kinds of things. So that said, I don't want this to be just limited to homeschoolers. I love doing it with my kids because it's a great way to discuss what we're reading, to get feedback from other people, to really stick in their head like what the story was, why it was important. We've had great conversations from it. Oftentimes when we're reading the book, we get more out of it because we're looking for those things that we will pull into the party. So that's one of the reasons I think it is a great thing to do for homeschoolers. But we're on BookTube and we love reading. So I think this is another great way for anybody to just, I don't know, up their reading game by inviting some friends along on the journey and to just celebrate some good books together. So that said, this is an invitation for everyone, not just homeschoolers, but Jenny, I hear you and I will do better. So the first thing you're going to want to do when you're doing a book club party is figure out who is going to be invited. Now, for us, we have 3 other homeschool families that have committed to doing the same books for the school year together. We've enjoyed that format. We've done it for 2 years, and it's just been great kind of seeing the kids get more comfortable with each other. Now, you could do this with a couple different friends that enjoy reading similar books to you. You can do it with just your own family. You can do it however big or small you want to do it. But I would really recommend finding people who could commit to doing the actual reading work, and then figure out maybe 3 dates. Try at least a quarter if you're not going to do 6 months. 3 different books, 3 different dates. Get them on the calendar about a month, 6 weeks apart, whatever, so that it's already on the calendar, it's consistent, and you're not trying to figure it out as you go along. Because we have tried the, hey, we'll figure out when the next date is at the end of the party, and things always get missed. There's always chaos at the end of the party, and you're just not thinking about it. It falls under the radar. Just go ahead and set those dates from the get-go. That way everybody knows what to do with it. If somebody wants to read further along, they can. First tip, set the dates in blocks of time. Maybe 3 blocks at least at a time. Second tip is to figure out where and when the book is set. Now, this is getting so much easier because you can find, Spotify is one of my very favorite homeschooling tools / life joys, and you can find a playlist for pretty much anything if you don't want to make one on your own. Now, we just read Pie by Sarah Weeks. It was our last book club read, and it's set in the 1950s. So the first thing I did was go on Spotify and look at the 1950s American hits, and then just downloaded the list. It was actually really fun to have that in the background while I was prepping for the party. You could also do that with other books while you're reading the party, is listening to music in the background. I know Daisy Jones and the Six already has a playlist put together on Spotify that I listened to while I was reading it. The Grishaverse with Grisha Trilogy with Lee Bardugo, that has a Spotify playlist. There's so many great ways people are combining their exciting interests of music and books together. So you might not even have to come up with a playlist on your own. I did, however, sometimes it's fun. I like playlists before trips and things. So I have a Phantom Toll Booth playlist, lots of stuff like that. Look at the where and when. You'll come up with some great music to have on in the background. The next thing is going to be the decor. Once you know who you're inviting and you know kind of what theme music you want in the background, you're going to come up with the decor. I am not one who wants to go out and buy all kinds of new stuff. There have been occasionally things that I have purchased for parties, but I will only do it if I know I will reuse it or it's super important to me, because I don't like a lot of waste out there in the world. I like to come up with things that are practical, something that people might be able to take home with them to remember the party, but that doesn't feel like it's just more junk laying around. So for decor, these are some ideas that we've had in the past for ours. I love using what we already have. So like I said, with a pie book, there's a lot of baking in it. So it's very, very easy to come up with getting the rolling pin out, getting measuring things out. There's a shortening in there that they use, and it's from the Lardo company. So I put Lardo label on it. You could put that in the middle. Then for the Mercy Suarez party, she is a Cuban American, and so I found, and her parents are painters. They have a painting business. So I found just some old paint we had in the garage, threw a can on the table, got some old paint brushes, put them in a pail, and then some paint sticks, and I applied the Cuban flag printed out on the paint sticks. Decoration was pretty much done after that. I did end up, because they are researching ancient Egypt, and we were also researching ancient Egypt at the same time, my kids did some drawings of ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses, and we put those on the wall. Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats of Nim, I took some black trash bags that didn't fit any of our trash cans, tore them apart, and then put them all over the entire room. This entire room is covered with black trash bags to make it dark like a rat's den. And then we put colored tissue paper on the walls to make stained glass, put an easel up, and then stacks of books. If you're having, Pride and Prejudice party, you can definitely have people dress up and have, a nice china out on the table. If you are doing Wild Robot party, we got out metal sheet pans and cookie sheets and put them in the shape of a robot, filled them up with our goodies to eat, and then put some stuffed animals out. Think about where and when the party is. That's going to figure out which decor you have. The people coming to your party might also have ideas. So feel free to say, hey, while you're thinking of what to bring for the party, if you have something that is perfect for our table setting, go ahead and bring it. This is a collaborative effort. Post it on your social media. Say, hey, does anybody have, I don't know, a crystal punch bowl? Somebody's got to have one somewhere. There's lots of things you can do to add decor to your party without spending any money at all. I don't remember the last time I've spent money for one of our book club parties. The next thing you're going to do is encourage your guests to get involved. So this is where food is a great thing. Food is one of my favorite things of a party. I love doing it. My husband loves doing it. It's one of our favorite thematic challenges. But again, if you are not a person who is loving to be in the kitchen or feels a little bit more nervous about it, get food from somewhere else. You can either purchase it, you can have your guests, do potluck style and bring something, and you provide the drinks. There's so many ways you can get around the obstacle of feeling like you're not doing enough. There are some things online you can, of course, Google. If you're doing something that's more oceany, come up with salt and vinegar chips. That's like oceany, right? Like you could really stretch your imagination. We did Cuban sliders for the Mercy Suarez party. For Wild Robot, which is set outdoors, we did a lot of like veggies and those sorts of things that you would forage. Forage in a garden or where we are. Don't feel like you have to have a perfect plan. Just pick one or two things that you think you can maybe add a different label to or something, put it out. Harry Potter would be a great one. You can relabel spice labels. I actually just read a book that's coming out, my January wrap-up video, if it didn't already, and it's the Lager Queen of Minnesota. You could just get a 6-pack of beer and relabel the labels with the one from the book. So there's lots of different ways. Look for details while you're reading that you can rename things to work for your food, and ask people to take something off your plate by bringing something to put on it, if you know what I mean. So I know, pretty clever. Anyway, so food is another big one, obviously. Ask people to dress up if they don't mind. There's lots of different things you can do depending on the book. Sometimes it's going to be regular clothes, but sometimes you can really get into it. So we've done face paint for ours. We've done for the pie book, one of the main characters really loves leopard print, so I wore my leopard print bathrobe. There's a lot of things you can do to just add those little extra memories to the party without going over the top. The last thing you're going to do besides coming up with your discussion questions is coming up with 1 or 2 activities that would make sense with the book. This is one of my favorite challenges. Again, we use Brave Writer Curriculum by Julie Bogart. She has a lot of suggestions at the end of her newer ones for throwing a book club party. Sometimes we use those, sometimes we don't. Look in the book to figure out what sorts of things you can do. For Mercy Suarez, we did a lot of hieroglyphics, bookmarks, because they're studying ancient Egypt. We have done scavenger hunts. We've done obstacle courses. One time we did, a whole, for Wild Robot, there's one scene where the robot keeps getting pelted with pine cones by these bears. I think it's by the bears. And so I had a bunch of pine cones in my yard that I really wanted picked up. So we got containers, and then we had the kids see how many pine cones they could throw into the containers. I mean, that worked until my kids all decided to like pelt each other with them at the end, and then they got all spread out again, and it didn't actually clean up my yard. But the thought was there. You never know what might actually make a good activity. Sometimes you can do charades where everybody will come up with 5 different things from the book, put it in a hat, and then you act it out. That's fun. We have done things where we had a Lego challenge where they had a maze for Mrs. Frisbee and the Rats and Nim. They had to make a Lego maze where a marble could go through. We've had, for the pie book, we had a pie baking competition where all the kids brought pies. We had 11 pies at my house. It was insane. And I made ribbons for them for different things and scoring. So we've done that. If there's some sort of competition in the story, you can maybe work that in somehow. You can do a craft project, whether it's a bookmark of something you liked from the story, or a little quote you can color. I'm sure there's a lot of different things you can come up with just based off of that. So that said, all you have to do after that is talk about the book and really just appreciate what you liked, what you hated, what you would do differently. I really love the book Deconstructing Penguins, who I can't remember who is written by now. I'll write it in the notes below. But Deconstructing Penguins is a great guide for figuring out how to discuss books better and more deeply. And I recommend that for not just homeschoolers, but anybody who enjoys talking about books. So that is the summary of all of my best ideas for coming up with a plan for a book club party. I would love to know in the comments below if you've thrown a party that revolved around a book. I've done this since I was little. I remember having an Alice in Wonderland party and then throwing one for my daughter. So that's not ever an old theme. If you are the kind of person like me who enjoys celebrating themselves at their birthday, throw a book club party with your favorite book. I don't know if I want to do that with Grapes of Wrath. But I guess I could. Might be at a depressing party. I'm not sure. But yeah, go ahead and pick a book, and then let me know in the comments below what ideas you have. If you need ideas, please hit me up, because this is something I'm actually decent at coming up with ideas for. So I would love to know what you've done, what you would love to do, and if you're stuck on a book. So I will talk to you all later, and happy book club partying. Bye.